Before the moment of transformation arrives, reality grows strangely quiet. You may have sensed it, the subtle softening of the world around you, the feeling that something vast and ancient is turning its gaze toward you. When this book appears, it is never by chance. It emerges only when a soul stands at the threshold of its breakthrough timeline, the moment where destiny bends, timelines shift, and the universe leans in to whisper its forgotten secrets. What you are about to hear is not guidance for the many, but a message for the few who are awakening to the truth of who they are becoming. This book finds you only when your energy is beginning to fracture through old limits, when the version of yourself you once carried like a shadow no longer fits the expanding shape of your becoming. You are entering a corridor between timelines, a sacred passage where your next reality waits like a star trembling on the edge of ignition. Here, thoughts crystallize faster, emotions speak louder, and synchronicities gather like guardians preparing you for your ascent. What follows is not information, but initiation. A sequence of vibrational keys designed to unlock the immense potential that has quietly ripened within you. Take a breath. Feel the veil thinning around you. You have stepped into the book that only appears when you are ready to cross into your breakthrough timeline. Listen carefully, and keep this secret. Chapter 1. The Moment Reality Bends. Before every breakthrough in a soul's journey, there comes a moment so subtle, so easily dismissed, that most overlook it entirely. And yet this moment is the first tremor of destiny rearranging itself around you. It is the soft shiver in reality that signals your timeline is bending, quietly, invisibly, toward a higher expression of your life. Perhaps you have felt it already. A strange stillness in the air, a restlessness beneath your ribs, a sense that what once fit no longer does, as though life itself has begun loosening its seams around you. This is the moment when the old timeline begins to dissolve. In a small village nestled between two mountains, there lived a watchmaker named Elias. For decades, he repaired clocks so precise that even the most delicate gears trembled at his touch. Yet one morning he noticed something unusual. Every clock in his shop, hundreds of them, began ticking out of rhythm at the exact same moment. Some hurried ahead, others lagged behind, yet all deviated from their normal cadence. Elias panicked. He believed his tools had failed, his hands had faltered, or perhaps time itself had betrayed him. But as he watched the chaotic symphony of ticking, an elder entered his shop and smiled knowingly. "When all clocks fall out of sync," the elder whispered, "it is not they that are broken. It is you who are shifting." Elias frowned, unable to understand. "You are no longer aligned with the time you once lived in," the elder continued. "Your soul has begun adjusting to a new rhythm, a truer rhythm, and the world around you is reflecting that migration. So it is with you. When you are nearing a breakthrough, your external world may appear to malfunction. Plans fall apart, people drift away, unexpected delays arise. Even your own thoughts may fracture into confusion or wander into unfamiliar territories. But in truth, nothing is malfunctioning. Everything is recalibrating. The universe is bending the trajectory of your timeline so subtly, so intimately, that reality itself must momentarily destabilize to make room for the coming shift. Breakthrough does not arrive gracefully. It interrupts. Just as an arrow must be pulled backward before it soars, your life often contracts before it expands. You may feel pressure building in areas of your life that once felt effortless. Old habits may suddenly feel unbearable. What once brought comfort now feels disturbingly small. This is not decline. This is ignition. The old timeline is resisting its own dissolution, for all timelines possess inertia. They cling to identity, routine, and familiarity. They whisper that staying where you are is safer than leaping into what you might become. But the moment your soul signals readiness for expansion, the universe begins the sacred rearrangement. There is a reason this book appeared for you now. It does not surface for those anchored in stagnation. It rises only for those who stand at the edge of breakthrough, those whose timelines have begun to curve toward a higher destiny. A breakthrough timeline does not arrive because you wish for it. It arrives because you become aligned with it. And alignment often begins with discomfort. In a distant coastal town lived a young painter named Leora. For years, her art was praised by villagers who preferred calm landscapes and gentle colors. She painted what pleased them, not what stirred her soul. But one evening, as she dipped her brush into a familiar shade of blue, the bristles refused the pigment. Instead, her hand trembled toward colors she had never dared to use: vibrant crimsons, electric golds, unrestrained purples. She resisted. Her customers preferred tranquility, not chaos. Yet something within her insisted. That night she painted with ferocity, as if guided by an unseen hand. Her strokes were wild, her colors untamed. By dawn she stood before a masterpiece unlike anything she had ever created, trembling with the recognition that she had crossed a threshold. She could never return to painting the quiet images of her past. Her breakthrough timeline had awakened. Every breakthrough begins with an internal rupture, a deviation from what you've always done, a whisper that says, "There is more," and you are ready to receive it. But the moment reality bends toward your breakthrough is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is a gentle shift, like the earth pivoting a single degree, small enough to miss, powerful enough to change the course of your entire life. If your routines feel unnatural now, if time behaves strangely, if people respond differently to you, if your desires feel newly sharpened or your old motivations have begun dissolving, these are signs that your timeline is shifting. You are entering a corridor where your old frequency is no longer compatible with your becoming, and so the world begins echoing your inner evolution. The clocks in your life tick differently now. Your hands tremble toward unknown colors. Your soul refuses the vibration it once accepted. This is the moment reality bends, not to break you, but to reveal you. You are stepping into the timeline where your deepest potential begins to awaken, and the shift has already begun. Chapter 2. The Timeline Whisper. Before a breakthrough timeline fully anchors into your life, it announces itself through whispers, subtle signals woven into your days, quiet nudges that stir your intuition, fleeting moments that feel strangely significant without explanation. These whispers are the earliest indicators that your future is calling you forward. Many ignore them, mistaking them for coincidence. But those who awaken recognize them as the first language of destiny. In a small monastery perched among ancient cliffs lived a young monk named Rian. He spent his days sweeping courtyards, tending gardens, and studying sacred texts. His life was orderly, predictable, confined within routines older than memory itself. Yet one morning, while sweeping the stone steps, he felt a sudden urge to look toward a distant ridge he had seen thousands of times before. But today, something shimmered there. Not a light, not a movement, just a feeling, a soft pull, as if the mountain itself had whispered his name. Ryan blinked, shook his head, and returned to sweeping. But the next morning it happened again, and again, and again. Finally he approached the elder monk to seek guidance. "Master," he whispered, "something is calling to me, but I do not understand it." The elder smiled, his eyes ancient with recognition. "When the universe whispers," the elder replied, "it is because your new path is already forming. The future speaks softly at first, for only the ready can hear it. So it is with you. Timeline whispers often arrive in the form of sudden intuitive nudges, dreams that feel like messages rather than inventions, urges to change direction without logical reason, déjà vu that stretches longer than usual. The feeling that something unseen is preparing you. These whispers are not random, they are signals of alignment. Just as a tuning fork vibrates when placed near another of the same frequency, your soul begins resonating with the frequency of your breakthrough timeline before you consciously step into it. The whisper comes first, the shift comes second, the manifestation comes last. Most people live their lives waiting for the external change before trusting the inner whisper. But breakthrough timelines operate in reverse. Destiny always speaks before it arrives. To ignore the whisper is to delay the breakthrough. To honor the whisper is to accelerate it. In a quiet mountain pass lived a shepherd woman named Nida. For years, she guided her flock through the same worn path along the hillside. But one evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, She felt a strange urge to take a different route, one she had never traveled. Her rational mind protested. Her feet moved anyway. Hours later, as she followed the new trail, she discovered a fresh spring of clear water bubbling between stones. The discovery transformed her livelihood and later the prosperity of her entire village. Yet when asked how she found it, she always gave the same simple answer: I listened. Timeline whispers often defy logic because they originate from a version of you that already knows what you do not. The future you, expanded, wiser, unburdened, is calling backward through time, guiding you step by step toward the timeline where your breakthrough awaits. You are not guessing your way forward. You are remembering your way home, but the whisper is delicate. It can easily be drowned out by the noise of old identities, old fears, old expectations. And so the universe amplifies the whisper when necessary. You may notice a growing irritation toward paths that once felt comfortable, sudden clarity about what is no longer aligned, opportunities that vanish overnight, new possibilities appearing out of nowhere, a sense that you are being moved rather than choosing. These are not coincidences, these are convergences. In truth, your breakthrough timeline is not something you chase, it is something you meet halfway. And the meeting point is the whisper. When your soul is ready to expand, the whisper grows louder, not in volume, but in impact. You will feel it in the chest before you understand it in the mind. You will sense it in your emotions before you see it in your circumstances. The whisper is not a command, it is an invitation. It will never pressure you. It will never frighten you. It will never demand urgency. It simply calls, softly, steadily, consistently, until listening becomes the most natural thing in the world. A young traveler named Leora once told a mystic, "I'm afraid of choosing the wrong path." The mystic smiled gently and replied, "When your timeline shifts, the right path chooses you." This is the essence of the whisper. It guides you without force. It rearranges without chaos. It leads you without revealing the entire map. All it requires is your willingness to trust the softest voice within you. For the whisper is not separate from you. It is the echo of your future self, the one who already lives your breakthrough timeline, reaching back to guide you into the life you were always meant to claim. Listen closely now. The whisper grows stronger. Something is calling you forward. Your breakthrough timeline is approaching, and it has already begun speaking your name. Chapter 3. When the old world stops responding. There comes a moment on every breakthrough path when the life you have known begins to dim. Conversations that once energized you now fall flat. Routines that once grounded you start to feel suffocating. Goals that once shimmered with promise now seem strangely hollow. It is a quiet unraveling, a soft collapse, not of your life, but of the timeline that no longer matches your frequency. This moment can feel unsettling, even frightening. Yet, it is one of the clearest signs that you are crossing into your breakthrough timeline. The old world stops responding because it is no longer yours. In a bustling port city lived a merchant named Rowan. For years he traded silks and spices with remarkable success. His stall was always full, his customers loyal, his days predictable. But gradually, without warning, the flow of his business began to change. Customers who once visited daily now passed without noticing him. Deals that once felt effortless began to slip away. The familiar rhythm of commerce no longer favored him. At first, Rowan believed he had fallen out of luck. He doubled his efforts, repaired his stall, advertised louder, worked longer. But the harder he tried to revive what once thrived, the more it slipped through his fingers. One evening, as he packed up unsold wares under the fading light, he noticed an elderly stranger watching him from across the street. The man approached and placed a gentle hand on Rowan's shoulder. "You're trying to breathe life into something that has already completed its purpose," the elder said. "This market no longer responds to you because your spirit has shifted to a new place." Rowan frowned, confused. "Then why does the world feel like it's falling apart?" "Because you are outgrowing it," the elder replied. "The old world must loosen its grip before the new one can take hold. So it is in your life. When the old timeline begins dissolving, it feels as though your momentum has stalled, as though doors that once opened with ease now remain shut. But nothing is wrong. In truth, everything is rearranging itself according to your expanding frequency. People who no longer belong in your next chapter quietly drift away. Opportunities misaligned with your evolution lose their shine. Habits that kept you small become impossible to maintain. Your soul is reclaiming the energy you invested into the old world, so it may fuel your breakthrough. The universe will not allow you to remain in a timeline beneath your potential. This dissolution is not punishment. It is calibration, a clearing of space. Imagine a tree whose roots have outgrown its pot. The pot cracks not because the tree is dying, but because it is ready for larger soil. So too does your reality crack around the edges when your inner being awakens to a larger destiny. In a small mountain village, a young musician named Soriel experienced this transformation firsthand. For years, she played her flute in the village square, enchanting travelers with melodies she learned from childhood. The villagers adored her, showering her with praise and admiration. Yet, one evening, as the first star appeared, she noticed something unsettling. Her flute felt heavier, her fingers clumsy, her breath unsure. The melodies she once played effortlessly now emerged broken and off-key. The villagers grew impatient, and her confidence shook. Believing she had lost her gift, she wept beneath an old cedar tree. An itinerant mystic, hearing her sorrow, approached her. "Your song no longer works here because it belongs to a different world," he said. "What do you mean?" she whispered. "You are trying to play the music of your future in a place that only recognizes your past." His words struck something deep within her. "Then what should I do?" she asked. He pointed toward the dark horizon. "Go where the song still answers you. Sometimes the old world stops responding so the new one can begin calling. Your breakthrough timeline cannot bloom in the soil where your old identity still reigns. Your desires, your evolution, your frequency, they must align with an environment that supports their growth. This is why. The job that once fulfilled you may now drain you. The relationship that once brought comfort may now feel limiting. The path you once walked confidently may now feel foreign beneath your feet. When your soul shifts timelines, your energy becomes incompatible with everything built for the previous version of you. This incompatibility is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of transformation, a foreshadowing of the life you are moving toward. You may notice conversations dissolving into silence, plans falling apart without explanation, old habits feeling unnatural, familiar places feeling distant, new desires emerging quietly. These experiences are not random. They are the universe withdrawing support from the timeline you have outgrown. Many fear this collapse and cling desperately to what is falling away. But clinging to the old delays the arrival of the new. The dissolution is sacred. It is the universe reorganizing your path. Like a tide receding before a great wave, your life pulls back so your breakthrough can rush in with full force. The old world stops responding because it no longer recognizes the frequency you carry. You are becoming someone new, someone larger, someone aligned with a timeline that promises more than you allowed yourself to imagine. And the reality that once matched your former identity must fade, for it cannot contain the truth you now hold. Do not mourn the fading. Do not fear the silence. Do not resist the unraveling. You are not losing your world. You are shedding your timeline. Something far greater is already forming around you. Chapter 4. The frequency of crossing over. There is a sacred moment in every soul's journey when your vibration rises to meet the threshold of a new timeline. This moment is unlike any other, for it signals that your energy has reached the frequency required to cross into the reality your future self already inhabits. Crossing over is not an act of force, it is a state of resonance. Your energy becomes the key that unlocks the door to your breakthrough. In an ancient desert temple, long forgotten by all but wandering seekers, there existed an inner chamber known as the Hall of Echoes. Within this chamber stood a massive stone archway that was said to open only when a traveler's heart matched the frequency of their highest path. Many approached the archway with determination, pushing, pulling, chanting, forcing, but the door remained sealed. One seeker, a young woman named Amira, studied the archway day after day. She believed she lacked something: strength, knowledge, power, yet each attempt left her exhausted. She watched as others tried and failed, blaming the stone for its stubbornness. But Amira sensed something different. The archway did not respond to effort. It responded to alignment. One night, in stillness, she placed her hands gently upon the cold stone and whispered, "Show me who I must become for you to open." And in that quiet surrender, she felt something move, not in the stone, but within her. A warmth shimmered in her chest. A clarity spread in her mind. A peace descended upon her being. She realized the door was not waiting for her to act. It was waiting for her to attune. The next morning, she approached the archway again, not with desperation, not with force, but with the frequency of her future self. The stone glowed softly, the air trembled, and the archway opened. She had crossed over not through effort, but through resonance. So it is with your breakthrough timeline. The crossing point is vibrational. Your actions matter, but your frequency commands reality. When you are nearing a breakthrough, your energy begins to shift in ways that feel both exhilarating and disorienting. You may feel bursts of clarity followed by waves of fatigue, waves of inspiration followed by moments of deep stillness. This is because your energy is recalibrating to the frequency needed to enter the new timeline. Crossing over requires that you shed the emotional weight that belongs to your old reality: fear, doubt, unworthiness, constriction. These emotions lower your vibration and bind you to the timeline you are trying to leave. Your new timeline exists at a frequency your old emotions cannot follow. Just as a butterfly cannot emerge until the chrysalis dissolves, your higher timeline requires the shedding of all vibrations that contradict your expansion. In a coastal village lived a fisherman named Jalen. Each morning he rose before dawn to cast his nets. But as he grew older, the sea that once welcomed him began to feel unpredictable. Storms came suddenly. Waves grew wild. His nets tangled more often than they filled. Frustrated, Jalen sought guidance from a reclusive elder who lived in a lighthouse atop the cliffs. The elder listened quietly as Jalen poured out his frustrations. "The sea is not rejecting you," the elder said. "It is inviting you to rise." "What do you mean?" Jalen asked. "You cast your nets with fear now, with worry, with the vibration of loss. The sea doesn't respond to your actions, it responds to your frequency." The elder lifted a small bowl of water and gently touched its surface. The slightest vibration created ripples that danced across the bowl. "Your life is the same," he continued. "Your energy creates ripples that form your reality. When your vibration shifts, the world must shift with it." Jalen returned to the shore the next morning. Instead of casting his nets with tension and dread, he breathed deeply, aligned himself with trust, with gratitude, with the frequency of abundance. And as his nets sank beneath the waves, something remarkable happened. The sea responded. His net returned heavy with fish, as though the ocean had been waiting for him to match its rhythm. This is the essence of crossing over. Life responds to the frequency you hold, not the actions you take. Signs you are nearing the crossing include heightened intuition, increasing synchronicities, sudden emotional releases, bursts of creativity, deep insights arriving unannounced. A sense that something is about to happen. These sensations are your inner being preparing you for the vibrational leap. They are not random. They are attunements. At the threshold of your timeline shift, your frequency begins to hum with a new resonance, subtle but unmistakable. This frequency calls forth circumstances, people, and opportunities that align with the life you are stepping into. You may feel detached from your old life, yet not fully anchored in the new. This in-between space is the corridor of crossing. Here, the universe watches your vibration with exquisite precision, not to judge you, but to calibrate you. For the moment your frequency stabilizes at the level of your breakthrough timeline, the crossing becomes inevitable. You will feel it. You will know it. Reality itself will begin rearranging around you. Just as a mirror stood before the archway and became the version of herself required to pass through, you too are becoming the self who naturally belongs to your highest timeline. You do not force the crossing. You become the crossing. Your breakthrough timeline is waiting. The vibration is forming. The door is preparing to open. Attune your frequency and watch as reality transforms to meet you. Chapter 5. The Collapse of False Identity. There comes a moment in every spiritual awakening when the identity you have worn for years, sometimes decades, begins to crack. Not in a violent shattering, but in a subtle, undeniable unraveling. What once felt like you begins to feel foreign, heavy, ill-fitting, like a garment you've outgrown but continued wearing out of habit. This is the collapse of false identity. It is not a crisis, it is a rebirth. Your breakthrough timeline cannot emerge while you are still anchored to a version of yourself too small to carry it. In a quiet lakeside town lived a scholar named Lyria. She was known for her sharp mind, her flawless logic, her commitment to knowledge. Villagers often sought her counsel on matters ranging from philosophy to mathematics. She lived proudly in the reality she constructed, one built entirely upon intellect. But late one autumn, a strange restlessness stirred within her. Logic, once her closest companion, began to feel like a cage. Books that once captivated her now gathered dust. Questions she once answered easily grew silent. She felt an inner tug she could neither name nor reason with. One night, while standing by the lake, she noticed her reflection trembling on the moonlit water. The rippling image looked unfamiliar, as though another woman watched her from beneath the surface. "Who are you?" she whispered. A wind swept across the lake, distorting the reflection even further. Her heart pounded. She sensed an answer rising not from the water, but from within. You are not who you think you are. Over the following weeks, her identity began to unravel. She lost interest in conversations she'd once led with confidence. Her carefully built reputation no longer mattered to her. Even the sense of control she once cherished slipped through her fingers. At first, she feared she was losing herself. In truth, she was finally meeting herself. This is the experience many encounter when nearing their breakthrough timeline, a disorientation that signals the dismantling of an identity built on expectations rather than authenticity. You may feel disconnected from old roles, uninterested in past ambitions, drawn to new desires you can't explain, emotionally sensitive or introspective, unsure of who you are becoming. This is not regression, it is liberation. Your false identity, shaped by childhood conditioning, social expectations, survival patterns, and inherited beliefs, cannot walk into the timeline that belongs to your true self. The universe is removing the illusion so the real you can finally rise. Think of a snake shedding its skin. The old skin does not fall away to punish the snake. It falls away because it no longer fits the being that is growing. Remaining inside the old skin would restrict its evolution. So too do you shed the identity that restricts your becoming. In a distant mountain monastery, there was a ritual known as the Ceremony of Mirrors. Pilgrims entered a dimly lit hall lined with mirrors of different shapes and sizes. Each mirror reflected them strangely, some elongated, some distorted, some blurred. The mirrors represented the identities each pilgrim had taken on throughout life. At the center of the hall stood a simple basin of water. The master monk would guide each pilgrim to stare into the stillness of the basin. "This," he would say softly, "is the only mirror that does not lie." The water reflected not the pilgrim's face, but their energy, their truest essence. Pilgrims often left the hall weeping, not in despair, but in relief. For many, it was the first time they had seen themselves without the masks they had worn for years. You may be experiencing your own ceremony of mirrors now. What no longer resonates within you is falling away because it cannot survive the vibration of your breakthrough. Who you pretended to be is dissolving so your true self can finally breathe. The roles you outgrew are loosening their grip. The masks are slipping off. The facade is cracking under the light of your awakening. This collapse is sacred. Your breakthrough timeline is constructed from truth, not projection, not pressure, not fear. You cannot bring into your new life the identity formed by survival. Only the identity shaped by expansion can enter. As Lyria continued her inward transformation, she began walking the lake's edge each morning, allowing her former persona to dissolve bit by bit. The more she released, the lighter she felt. The less she clung to who she thought she was, the more clearly she heard the whisper of who she could become. One dawn, as the first light kissed the surface of the water, she finally saw her reflection clearly, not distorted, not fractured, but luminous. She whispered, "I remember." Her true identity, quiet, intuitive, whole, emerged like a long-lost friend. This same emergence awaits you. The collapse you feel is not the end of you. It is the end of who you are not. Let the false identity crumble. Let the masks fall. Let the old framework dissolve. For beneath all that is leaving stands the version of you capable of stepping into your breakthrough timeline. And that self has been waiting patiently, ready to lead you forward. Chapter 6. The Echo Before the Leap. There is a strange and sacred phenomenon that occurs just before you enter your breakthrough timeline. It is the echo of your old reality, a final resurgence of patterns, fears, limitations, and experiences you believed you had already outgrown. This echo is not a setback. It is the universe confirming your readiness to leap. In a quiet valley bordered by ancient forests, lived a young archer named Selwyn. He trained tirelessly, his arrows slicing through the air with precision. His goal was to join the legendary Rangers of the Silver Wood, a group whose mastery was unmatched. One day, the Ranger Master approached him after watching him practice. "You are close," the Master said, "closer than you think. But before you ascend, you must face the echo." Selwyn frowned. "What echo?" "You will know," the Master replied. "All who ascend must face one final mirror of their past, not to sabotage them, but to confirm their strength." For months, nothing unusual happened. Selwyn continued training. His confidence grew. He believed he had conquered all doubt. Then one fog-covered morning, as he prepared to practice, he found his arrows missing. His bowstring snapped. His footing felt unsure. Every shot he attempted fell embarrassingly short. Old fears resurfaced like ghosts. Perhaps he wasn't ready. Perhaps he wasn't worthy. Perhaps he'd been delusional all along. Frustrated, he sought out the Ranger Master. "I have failed," Selwyn declared. "Everything is falling apart." The Master smiled gently. "Good. The echo has arrived." Selwyn blinked, bewildered. "The echo appears when your breakthrough is imminent," the Master explained. "Your old timeline sends a final surge of resistance, not to stop you, but to test your recognition of its illusion. Do not fight it. Do not fear it. Witness it and step forward anyway." So it is with you. When you are about to leap into your breakthrough timeline, old insecurities resurface. Past relationships reappear. Fears you thought you conquered flare up. Patterns you healed attempt to reattach. Memories long buried rise to consciousness. External circumstances momentarily regress. This is not a sign that you are failing. It is evidence that you are crossing over. The echo is a vibrational residue of the timeline you are leaving behind. Just as thunder follows lightning, the echo follows the internal shift. It is the last ripple of a frequency you have already outgrown. In a distant coastal city lived a healer named Liana. For years, she carried the wound of abandonment, believing she was unworthy of love. After deep inner work, she finally reached a place of self-acceptance and peace. Her breakthrough timeline, one filled with authentic relationships, began forming around her. But days before a new love entered her life, an old partner reappeared unexpectedly, stirring memories she believed were healed. At first, she trembled. She questioned her growth. She wondered if she'd truly changed. But then she remembered something her mentor once told her. "When your soul is ready to leap, your past knocks one final time, not to reclaim you, but to reveal how far you've risen." So Liana did not collapse back into old wounds. She did not reopen closed doors. She simply observed the echo, thanked it for what it once taught her, and walked forward. 1 week later, she met the person who would change the trajectory of her life. Your echo does not indicate regression, it indicates graduation. It is the universe saying, look at what once controlled you, look at how it no longer does. You are ready. The echo shows you the emotional patterns that once shaped you. It reveals how much you've grown. It helps you anchor into your new vibration with certainty. Selwyn, standing before the Ranger Master, asked, "How do I overcome the echo?" "By recognizing it is not your present," the Master replied. "It is a memory attempting to linger. Thank it, release it, then leap." The echo is not an obstacle. It is a confirmation. You are not failing. You are finishing. You are not regressing. You are rising. You are not being tested by the universe. You are being shown the final remnants of who you once were, so you can consciously choose who you will now become. If the echo is loud right now, it is because your breakthrough timeline is close, very close. Breathe deeply, recognize the illusion, stand firm in your new vibration, and leap. Your future is waiting with open arms, ready to receive the version of you who finally understands. The echo is not your enemy, it is your announcement. Chapter 7. The Softening of Resistance. There is a moment in every breakthrough journey when something subtle yet monumental begins to shift inside you. It's not loud like revelation, nor dramatic like collapse. It moves quietly, like a sunrise slipping across a sleeping landscape. This moment is the softening of resistance. It is the dissolving of the internal walls you built around your own becoming. It is the surrender that precedes the leap. It is the loosening of everything that once held you back. For years, you may have pushed, strained, strategized, and fought your way toward transformation, believing effort alone could carry you into your new timeline. But breakthroughs are not born from force, they are born from flow. The softening is the moment you finally stop fighting yourself. In a remote desert oasis lived a potter named Senra, known for crafting water vessels of exquisite beauty. But as her reputation grew, so did her desire to perfect her craft. She began pushing herself relentlessly, shaping clay through sheer will, forcing it into forms she envisioned. The harder she tried, the more the clay resisted. It cracked. It warped. It collapsed beneath the pressure of her hands. Frustrated, she sought counsel from an elder potter who lived alone in a stone hut beside the dunes. "You are making clay into your servant," the elder said, watching her work. "But clay is not meant to be mastered. It is meant to be met." Senra frowned. "How do I meet clay?" The elder dipped his hands into a bowl of water, letting moisture drip slowly onto the dry clay. As the droplets touched the surface, the clay softened, changing texture instantly. "You soften it first," he whispered. "Then it will shape itself." And he placed the softened clay onto the wheel. With almost no pressure, he guided it gently, and it lifted into a flawless vessel, as if rising of its own accord. Senra watched in awe. "This," the elder said, "is the way of all creation. You cannot sculpt something new while resisting the softness required to receive it." What the elder taught Senra is what the universe now teaches you. The softening of resistance is the sacred shift from force into flow. It is trusting instead of controlling, receiving instead of grasping, relaxing into possibility instead of bracing for impact, allowing instead of demanding. It is the exact vibration your breakthrough timeline requires. You cannot enter your highest reality through tension. Your breakthrough timeline opens when your inner resistance closes. This softening often begins quietly. You may notice that what once triggered you no longer pierces as deeply. You feel a strange calm even without answers. You begin letting go of what no longer aligns. Your need to prove yourself dissolves. Your energy no longer leaks into old battles. It is not resignation. It is resonance. You are aligning yourself with the frequency of your becoming. In a coastal monastery overlooking wild cliffs, young initiates practiced a ritual known as the still hands. They were instructed to sit before a bowl of water. If they stirred the water, the reflection distorted. If they forced it to still, the ripples only multiplied. But when they softened their breath, quieted their mind, and released all effort, the water calmed on its own. The reflection became clear. The lesson was simple. Clarity is the child of softness. Breakthrough is the child of surrender. Your resistance, built from old wounds, outdated identities, fear of change, distrust of your own power, served a purpose once. It protected you. But like armor worn long after the battle has ended, it now weighs you down. The softening is your soul unbuckling the armor you no longer need. It is the dissolving of internal friction, the quieting of the survival voice, the remembering of the truth. You do not rise by force, you rise by alignment. When Senra returned to her workshop, she began treating the clay not as an enemy to conquer, but as a partner in creation. Her vessels became more beautiful than ever before, not because she tried harder, but because she allowed more. Your life is no different. The moment you soften your resistance, the universe can finally reveal the pathway that strain kept hidden. This is why many breakthroughs arrive after surrender. When you stop gripping tightly, your frequency relaxes. When your frequency relaxes, it aligns. When it aligns, it receives. The softening is not weakness, it is wisdom. It prepares you for the leap. It attunes you to the new timeline. It opens the door that force kept closed. And now the universe asks you one simple question. Are you willing to soften? Let go of the tension. Let go of the pressure. Let go of the old stories. Let go of the battle within. For the moment you soften, the breakthrough begins. Chapter 8. The Emergence of Synchronicities. As you approach your breakthrough timeline, the universe begins to communicate with you in a language beyond logic. Subtle at first, then unmistakable. This language is synchronicity, the orchestration of meaningful coincidences that feel too precise, too timely, too aligned to ignore. Synchronicities are not accidents. They are the echo of your future calling backward to guide you. When your vibration begins matching the frequency of your new timeline, reality rearranges itself to reflect that alignment. Signs appear. Opportunities surface. Messages arrive with uncanny timing. People show up exactly when needed. It is not magic, it is resonance. In a quiet mountain village lived a mapmaker named Aurelia. She spent her days drawing charts of distant lands she had never visited. Her greatest dream was to explore the world beyond the valley, but fear held her rooted in place. One winter, she began noticing strange patterns. A feather appeared on her doorstep, the same type drawn on one of her maps. A traveler asked for directions to a city she had sketched the night before in a dream. A merchant offered her a compass, insisting she would need it soon. Aurelia dismissed these moments as coincidences, until the morning she discovered a hand-drawn map, not her own, pinned to her door. It contained a route she had been imagining for weeks. She stared at it, trembling, realizing the truth. The world was responding to her internal shift. Her desire had aligned her frequency with her destiny, and synchronicities had begun emerging like breadcrumbs leading her forward. So it is with you. Synchronicities are the universe whispering, "Keep going, you are on the right path." Do not fear, your timeline is forming. Watch closely, your reality is rearranging. They appear when your internal signal strengthens, when your heart begins broadcasting the frequency of your future self. These synchronicities can appear as repeating numbers, meaningful conversations with strangers, unexpected opportunities, dreams that predict events, symbols appearing in multiple places, songs, words, or images arriving at perfect timing, intuitive nudges that prove correct, people entering your orbit suddenly, events aligning with impossible precision. These are not anomalies, they are alignment manifest. Synchronicities are the universe's way of letting you know, I am actively participating in your breakthrough. In the ancient city of Corinth, there was a ritual known as following the threads. Seekers gathered in the marketplace and chose a single small object, a leaf, a stone, a coin. They would walk through the city, allowing that object to guide their awareness. The ritual taught them to notice patterns, connections, subtle alignments. Seekers discovered that when the mind softened its grip on logic, synchronicities appeared everywhere, weaving the events of the day into a tapestry of meaning. One seeker, a young boy named Tovin, grew frustrated during the ritual and declared, "Nothing is happening." The master smiled. Synchronicities do not appear to those who demand them, he said. They appear to those who are willing to perceive them. Synchronicities are not gifts for the chosen. They are mirrors for the attuned. When you begin advancing toward your breakthrough timeline, your awareness sharpens. You see signs you once missed. You feel guidance where you once felt confusion. You sense connections where you once saw randomness. This happens because your vibration is rising, and higher frequencies are inherently more connected. Synchronicities are proof that your alignment is strengthening, your intuition is awakening, your future self is guiding you. Your reality is responding to your growth. Your breakthrough timeline is forming in real time. In the weeks after receiving the mysterious map, Aurelia began encountering even more signs. Birds migrating in the direction of her dream, villagers speaking of lands she longed to see, storms clearing at the precise moments she considered traveling. At last she realized the universe was not hinting, it was preparing. She gathered her supplies, placed the gifted compass in her pack, and began her journey. Her first steps were guided not by certainty, but by synchronicity. This is how all breakthroughs begin, not with clarity, but with guidance, not with control, but with cooperation, not with guarantees, but with signs. Synchronicities are your assurance that something is aligning behind the scenes, that the invisible structure of your new timeline is forming with precision. And the more you tune into these signals, the faster your breakthrough approaches. Pay attention now, watch closely, stay open. The universe is already speaking, and every synchronicity you encounter is a message. You are entering your breakthrough timeline. Keep following the signs. You are almost there. Chapter 9. The Energetic Snap. There is a moment in your evolution when something inside you shifts so powerfully, so unmistakably, that your entire reality responds. It happens suddenly, sometimes in a single breath, sometimes in a flash of insight so profound that it dismantles years of limitation. This moment is the energetic snap. It is when your vibration rises above the frequency of your old timeline so completely that the universe can no longer match you with what once defined your life. Something within you breaks free. Something within you clicks into place. Something within you announces, I can no longer live as the person I once was. The energetic snap is not a gentle transition. It is a rupture of resonance, a breaking of the final invisible thread tying you to your old reality. In a distant kingdom nestled between towering cliffs lived a warrior named Ivar. For years, Ivar trained under a merciless regime, taught to suppress his emotions and obey commands without question. Though he carried great strength, he felt hollow inside, as if the life he lived was not the one meant for him. One night, after receiving another harsh order that contradicted his morals, he stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the valley. The moon cast a silver path across the land, illuminating a world beyond the fortress walls, a world he had never allowed himself to imagine. A single thought rose within him, clear as the night sky. I cannot go back. In that instant, something snapped inside him, not a breaking that wounded, but a breaking that liberated. It was as if an old identity finally shattered, releasing a truth long imprisoned beneath it. He felt his entire being rearrange. He felt the weight of his false life fall away. He felt destiny inhale sharply, recognizing its moment. The energetic snap had awakened. Ivar turned from the fortress and stepped into the unknown, guided not by logic but by resonance. His life from that moment forward shifted so drastically that even those who once knew him would not have recognized him years later. The energetic snap is like that. It is undeniable. It is irreversible. It is a turning point not decided by thought but by frequency. This snap often arrives after weeks or months of internal tension. You feel the discomfort of misalignment growing stronger. You sense the pull of your new timeline intensifying. You feel both fear and inevitability dancing in your chest. Then, without warning, something clicks. You may experience a sudden knowing, an overwhelming clarity, a spontaneous decision, an emotional release, a truth surfacing with force. A refusal to accept what you once tolerated. The energetic snap does not ask permission. It commands transformation. In a quiet fishing village lived a woman named Seraphine, who stayed in a stagnant relationship for years. She convinced herself she needed more time, more signs, more certainty. She ignored the whispers of her intuition, believing that change must arrive through reason. But one morning, as she washed her hands in the basin, she looked at her reflection in the water. Not the reflection of her face, but the reflection of her spirit. And suddenly, she saw the truth. She was living as a muted version of her soul. In that precise instant, something snapped. A fracture not of pain, but of awakening. Her energy surged into alignment. Without anyone urging her, without pondering pros and cons, without waiting for the right moment, she ended the relationship that had dimmed her light. The villagers were shocked by her decisiveness. But she was not. For once the energetic snap occurs, hesitation evaporates. The energetic snap is your soul reclaiming sovereignty. You may have felt a version of this already. A job suddenly becomes unbearable in a single day. A dream that once felt distant becomes non-negotiable. A fear you carried for years loses its power overnight. A truth you avoided becomes impossible to deny. This moment is not impulsive, it is inevitable. It is the culmination of inner alignment. It is the threshold between timelines. It is the final step before your breakthrough reality materializes. Energy snaps because your vibration outgrows the frequency that held you. The old timeline cannot contain you anymore. The old identity cannot anchor you anymore. The old patterns cannot catch you anymore. The snap frees you. Imagine a bow drawn tight for years. When released, the arrow flies not because it tries, but because tension finally gives way to momentum. Your energetic snap is that release. After the snap, your external world begins shifting rapidly. Opportunities appear where dead ends once loomed. People aligned with your true self arrive unexpectedly. Synchronicities multiply. Your intuition strengthens. You may even feel a sense of acceleration, as if time itself is moving differently around you. The snap is both an ending and a beginning, the end of who you were, the beginning of who you are becoming. It is the universe saying, you have reached the frequency required to step into your breakthrough timeline. And from that moment on, nothing in your life will ever be the same. Chapter 10. The Self You Are Becoming. Every soul on the brink of a breakthrough enters a profound and sacred phase of identity expansion. You may not yet see the full form of who you are becoming, but you can feel it, like a distant melody drifting toward your awareness, growing clearer each day. This chapter is about that emerging self. The version of you already alive in the timeline you are stepping into. The self you are becoming is not a fantasy or an aspiration. It is a memory of your future. A vibration that already exists in the quantum field, calling you toward it with increasing intensity. In a seaside town where gulls circled ancient towers lived a lantern keeper named Elowin. Each night she lit the lighthouse flame, guiding ships safely home. She lived in quiet solitude, believing her life was meant for service, not transformation. Yet something began shifting within her. Each time she climbed the spiral staircase, she felt a strange presence walking beside her. Not a ghost, but a future version of herself. A woman with brighter eyes, steadier breath, and a confidence she had never possessed. One evening, as she lit the flame, she whispered into the glowing night, "Who are you?" A warm silence answered. She realized the presence wasn't outside her. It was rising from within. This presence, the higher version of you, is always emerging during a breakthrough timeline. It is the blueprint of your next evolution. The self who already holds the courage, clarity, abundance, emotional wisdom, and intuitive mastery that your new reality requires. As you shift into alignment, you begin merging with this version of yourself. You may feel new preferences forming, old habits falling away, unexpected confidence emerging, intuitive insights arriving with ease, deeper compassion for yourself, a sense of destiny unfolding, loss of interest in low vibrational experiences, stronger boundaries forming naturally. These changes are not random. They are evidence that you are becoming the version of yourself who belongs to your breakthrough timeline. In a quiet forest temple, initiates were once taught a ritual known as the meeting of selves. Each apprentice was instructed to sit in meditation at sunset, eyes closed, breathing deeply. After a time, they would visualize themselves as they were, and then visualize themselves as they were destined to become. The elder monk would ask, "Which one feels more like home?" The apprentices often wept as they answered, "The future self." For in truth, the self you are becoming has always been the real you. You are not changing into someone new. You are returning to someone ancient within you. The false identities, the wounded you, the small you, the limited you, were temporary garments. The self emerging now is the one you were always meant to embody. Elowyn, the lantern keeper, soon realized that the presence she sensed was not merely an intuition, it was guidance. Each night, the future self whispered subtle instructions. Turn left instead of right. Trust your instinct. Speak your truth. Say yes. Say no. Let go. Rise. Without knowing why, she followed these gentle nudges. Her world transformed. People sought her wisdom. A traveler offered her a new opportunity. The village elder recognized leadership in her. The townsfolk began treating her as someone powerful, long before she fully believed she was. This is what happens when you begin embodying the self you are becoming. Reality mirrors your emerging identity. Your future self already exists. Your breakthrough timeline already exists. You are simply aligning with it. The key is understanding this truth. Your breakthrough doesn't happen to you. It happens through you, through the self you are brave enough to become. The emerging self is your bridge between timelines. It holds the knowledge your current self lacks. It holds the confidence your old self could not access. It holds the vibration that activates your new reality. And as you continue evolving, you will feel this integration intensify. You may begin dressing differently, speaking differently, choosing differently. You may feel compelled to protect your energy with more care. You may find yourself refusing what you once accepted. You may begin walking through the world with more presence. You may feel magnetism rising in your aura. These shifts are not superficial. They are environmental, signs that your inner being has already crossed into the new timeline. The self you are becoming is not distant. It is approaching rapidly, step by step, breath by breath. And one day, perhaps not far from now, you will look at yourself in a mirror, a quiet moment, or a life-changing decision, and realize, I have become the version of myself I used to dream of. This is the moment your breakthrough timeline fully anchors. The old self dissolves, the new self stands unapologetically in its place. And from that place, your reality blossoms in ways you once believed were impossible. You are not heading toward a new version of yourself. You are remembering the truth of who you have always been, and that truth is magnificent. Chapter 11. The Resonance That Chooses Reality. There comes a moment in every soul's ascension when you realize something profound. Reality is not chosen by action alone. Reality is not chosen by thought alone. Reality is chosen by resonance. Your frequency is your signature in the quantum field. Your vibration is your vote for the timeline you occupy. Your emotional state is the magnet that pulls experiences toward you. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. This truth awakens with startling clarity when you approach your breakthrough timeline, for the universe begins responding to your emotional resonance with greater speed and precision. What once took months now takes days. What once took days now takes hours. You feel the quickening, the acceleration that occurs only when your energy is nearing alignment with a higher reality. In an ancient citadel stood a grand chamber known as the Hall of Echoes. At its center lay a circular platform of polished stone. Travelers from distant lands would step upon it to test their readiness for transformation. The platform did not respond to words, intentions, or declarations. It responded only to resonance. When a traveler stepped forward with fear, the stone dimmed. When a traveler stepped forward with doubt, the platform remained silent. But when a traveler approached with alignment, true internal coherence, the stone glowed with a radiant light that filled the entire hall. One traveler, a young scribe named Idris, arrived to test his fate. His heart brimmed with longing to step into a new life. He spoke confidently. He declared his desires clearly. He recited affirmations with passion, yet when he stepped onto the stone, it remained dull. Confused, Idris sought the wisdom of the hall's guardian. "Why does the stone stay silent?" Idris pleaded. "I am ready. I have said the words. I have set the intentions." The guardian studied him with kind, discerning eyes. "Your words speak the future," he said gently, "but your heart still holds the past." He placed a hand upon Idris's chest. "The stone does not listen to your voice. It listens to your vibration." These words pierced Idris more deeply than any sword ever could. That night he sat by the river, reflecting on the gaps within himself, the places where his desires contradicted his fears, the places where he still felt unworthy, the places where he whispered abundance while carrying the vibration of lack. He wept, not from weakness, but from recognition. By dawn, something within his energy shifted. He had not perfected himself. He had aligned himself. His mind, heart, and soul finally whispered the same truth. When he returned to the Hall of Echoes and stepped upon the stone, it illuminated instantly, brilliant, shimmering, alive. He had not changed his words. He had changed his resonance. So it is with you. Your breakthrough timeline is not unlocked by desire alone. It is unlocked by vibrational coherence. The moment your emotional frequency matches the reality you seek. This resonance is not created by forcing positivity or suppressing fear. It is created by acknowledging your truth, releasing old emotional burdens, choosing alignment over approval, embodying the feelings of your desired reality, honoring your intuition, living from your future self, trusting the unfolding, standing firm in your worthiness. Your resonance is your cosmic identity. Your resonance is your doorway. Your resonance is your map. And when your resonance aligns with your breakthrough timeline, reality cannot help but shift around you. Doors open without explanation. People arrive exactly when needed. Synchronicities multiply. Obstacles dissolve. Life rearranges itself in your favor. The universe is not responding to your words. It is responding to your frequency. There is a saying among mystics, energy doesn't lie, and the universe doesn't misunderstand. Your vibration is the most honest language you speak, and the universe hears every note. In a distant monastery, students practiced aligning their energy by holding a bowl of water. The master instructed them, "Do not try to calm the water with force. Calm yourself and watch how the water responds." When their hands trembled with inattention, ripples shook the surface. When they breathed deeply, the water stilled on its own. Reality is the bowl. Your energy is the hand. Your breakthrough timeline is the stillness that appears when you align. You do not enter your new timeline by force. You enter it by resonance, and you are closer than you know. Chapter 12. The Blueprint Rearranging Itself. As you draw nearer to your breakthrough timeline, a hidden phenomenon begins to unfold, delicate, powerful, and unmistakable. The blueprint of your life begins rearranging itself. Plans you once relied on dissolve. People you expected to journey with you step aside. New opportunities emerge from nowhere. Old desires fade as new ones ignite. Paths you were certain you'd follow suddenly disappear, and choices you never considered begin calling your name. This rearrangement is not chaos. It is orchestration. It is the universe adjusting the architecture of your reality to match your rising frequency. You are not losing your path. Your path is changing shape to fit the person you are becoming. In the ancient coastal city of Ibratha lived a visionary architect named Thalen, known for designing structures that defied the limits of imagination. One day, the queen summoned him to build a grand lighthouse on the edge of the cliffs, one that would guide sailors home for generations to come. Thalen accepted with reverence, sketching plans meticulously for weeks. He calculated angles, mapped foundations, and crafted intricate designs. But each morning, when he returned to his drafts, he found that the plans looked wrong, misaligned in ways he couldn't explain. At first, he believed he was making mistakes, but he soon realized something deeper was happening. The vision of the lighthouse itself was shifting. The structure he once envisioned so clearly now felt too small, too narrow, too constrained for the purpose it was meant to serve. No matter how hard he tried to force his original blueprint, his intuition refused to cooperate. Something within him whispered that the design needed to evolve. One night, overwhelmed by the uncertainty, Thalen walked to the cliffs and gazed at the horizon. There, under the moonlit sky, he received a revelation, a complete vision of a lighthouse grander than any he had imagined. A structure capable of holding a wider beam, standing taller against storms, guiding ships from farther distances. He collapsed to his knees in awe. He understood then. The blueprint had rearranged itself to match the expansion of his own inner vision. He returned to his drafting table and created a new design, one that came not from his mind alone, but from his alignment with a higher purpose. So it is with your life. When your vibration rises, the blueprint of your reality must adapt to accommodate your expansion. This rearrangement can feel like endings you didn't expect, opportunities you didn't anticipate, delays that redirect you, sudden inspiration, shifting desires, changes in relationships, detours that reveal your true path, intuitive nudges pulling you forward. But none of this is random. The universe cannot build your new timeline on old foundations. They must crack, they must shift, they must be rebuilt to support the magnitude of your becoming. The rearrangement of your life blueprint is the universe saying, you are meant for more than what you originally planned. In the floating temples of Jaru, young initiates learned an ancient teaching. When your inner architecture changes, the outer architecture must follow. This rearrangement is a sacred partnership between your rising vibration and the intelligence of the universe. You step into a new resonance, and the universe adjusts the external world to reflect it. Just as a musician must retune their instrument to play new melodies, your reality must retune itself to play the song of your becoming. This is why certain things fall apart at the edges. This is why certain paths narrow while others widen. This is why delays often carry hidden alignment. This is why rejection is redirection. This is why uncertainty is refinement. Your new timeline is larger than your old one. It requires a different structure, a different flow, a different set of experiences. Thalen's original blueprint was not wrong. It was simply incomplete. It served the person he was, not the person he became. Your old plans did the same. They served the version of you who existed before the awakening. Now they must evolve. As the blueprint rearranges, trust the shifting, trust the unexpected endings, trust the surprising beginnings, trust the detours, trust the timing, trust the redirection, trust the reorganization of your life. You are not being moved away from your timeline. You are being moved into it. Let the blueprint change. Let your life restructure. Let the universe reveal the architecture of your breakthrough. For what is coming is far greater than what you originally imagined. Chapter 13. Parallel Paths and Invisible Choices. As you approach your breakthrough timeline, a startling truth begins to reveal itself. Your life is not a single path, but a constellation of parallel possibilities, timelines that stretch in every direction, shimmering with potential. Each one holds a version of you shaped by the choices you make, not just in action, but in vibration, intention, and awareness. Every moment is a doorway, every thought is a step, every feeling is a compass. But the most powerful choices, the ones that shift timelines, are often invisible. They happen within you before they ever manifest in your external world. In an ancient city woven with marble bridges and lantern-lit canals lived a philosopher named Arian. He spent his days observing people crossing the bridges, fascinated by how they moved through life without realizing the possible paths they were ignoring or choosing. One night, as the moon cast silver ripples across the water, Arian encountered a mysterious traveler wearing a cloak of deep indigo. The traveler stood at the intersection of 3 bridges, each leading in a different direction. Arian approached him and asked, "Which bridge will you take?" The traveler smiled. "That depends on who I decide to be." Arian was puzzled. "Not on the destination?" "No," the traveler replied. "The bridge appears in response to my inner decision, not the other way around." Arian watched as the traveler closed his eyes. As his breathing slowed, the air around him shimmered. The 3 bridges shifted subtly, their shapes bending like reflections on water. Then, with gentle certainty, the traveler opened his eyes and stepped onto one bridge, at which point the other two dissolved into mist. Arian gasped. "What sorcery is this?" "It is not sorcery," the traveler answered as he walked away. "It is alignment." Arian understood then what had once eluded him. We do not choose our path by walking, we choose our path by becoming. This is the essence of invisible choice. While you are focused on actions and outcomes, the universe is responding to your frequency. And because your frequency determines your reality, many of your most powerful choices occur in the unseen realm of emotion, intention, and identity. Invisible choices can sound like, "I no longer abandon myself to please others. I release the belief that I am unworthy. I trust my intuition even when it scares me. I choose peace over chaos. I choose growth over comfort. I choose to live as the version of myself already aligned with my breakthrough." These are not small choices, and they are timeline-shifting choices. A woman in a mountain village named Elira once struggled between her duty to her family and her longing to pursue her craft as a healer. Externally, nothing changed. She still tended the fields, still cooked meals, still followed the same routine, but internally, something immense shifted. One morning, while grinding herbs over her stone bowl, she whispered to herself, "I choose the path where I become who I truly am." That single quiet declaration, the invisible choice, created a crack in her reality. Over the following weeks, synchronicities appeared. A traveler asked for her healing. A neighbor praised her remedies. The village elder announced they needed a healer to apprentice. Her external world rearranged because her internal world aligned. Invisible choices are the architects of destiny. You may believe that life is shaped by the decisions you make consciously, where to live, what job to take, who to love. But these are the final expressions of choices made long before, deep within your energy field. The real choice happens when you decide, what frequency will I live from? This is when timelines shift. This is when reality bends. This is when paths reveal themselves. Parallel timelines respond to vibrational identity, not logic. You do not need to know the right choice. You need to become the version of yourself who naturally attracts the reality meant for you. A monk in the Temple of the Seven Winds once told his students, "When you change your frequency, you change the path beneath your feet." This is why the future sometimes feels strangely familiar, because you have already chosen it in the unseen, and why certain paths suddenly feel impossible, because you have vibrationally outgrown them. You are now entering the stage where invisible choices matter more than ever. Your energy is selecting your timeline. Your resonance is drawing your future closer. Your inner decisions are building the bridge you will soon walk. Become aware of the choices you make in silence. They are the ones that change everything. Chapter 14. The Shimmering Doorway. Once your resonance stabilizes and your invisible choices align with your highest path, something extraordinary emerges in your life, subtle yet unmistakable. The shimmering doorway. Not a physical doorway you can touch, but a vibrational threshold you can feel. It appears when you stand at the boundary between who you have been and who you are becoming. It appears when your future timeline draws so close that it brushes against your present, like two waves merging into one. The shimmering doorway is the moment possibility becomes palpable. In the kingdom of Orelai, nestled among hills of crystallized quartz, lived a young mystic named Callan. His people believed that every great transformation required crossing a sacred threshold, the shimmering doorway, visible only to those ready to step into their higher destiny. Callan studied the teachings, practiced the rituals, and waited for the doorway to appear. But year after year, it remained invisible. One night, exhausted from striving, he wandered into the moonlit forest. He sat beneath an ancient tree and whispered into the darkness, "I release the need to force my future. I am ready to become who I was always meant to be." With those words, something shifted. The air around him tingled, light shimmered across the forest floor. A translucent door of soft luminescence appeared, thin as sunrise, silent as starlight. Callan approached, trembling. "Why now?" he asked the light. Because, the doorway seemed to whisper, you have finally matched the frequency of your path. The shimmering doorway appears not when you struggle, but when you surrender. Not when you force, but when you align. Not when you demand, but when you embody. It is the threshold of energetic readiness. You know you're nearing this doorway when you feel a strange calm despite uncertainty. You sense something significant approaching. Your intuition grows louder and more accurate. Your desires feel closer, more tangible. Old fears lose their grip. Your dreams intensify with clarity. Synchronicities multiply rapidly. Your inner world feels more real than your outer circumstances. The shimmering doorway is not just a symbol, it is an energetic event. It is the exact moment your frequency aligns with the reality you're meant to step into. Some describe it as a shift in perception, others as an internal knowing. Some feel it like a warm current sweeping through the body. Others see it in the form of visions, dreams, or intuitive flashes. But all who encounter it recognize the same truth. Once you see the doorway, you cannot unsee it. Once you feel its presence, you cannot return to the life you lived before. In a quiet village by the sea, a baker named Mariah lived a simple life filled with routine. Yet every morning, as she kneaded dough, she felt an invisible presence hovering around her. A sense that something beautiful was pulling her forward. She couldn't explain it, but she knew she was standing at the edge of something profound. One morning, as she shaped the final loaf, she whispered, "I feel the door." She didn't know what it meant, but her soul did. That week, the shimmering doorway grew stronger. She saw signs pointing her toward a long-held dream she had never dared to pursue, and finally she understood. The doorway was waiting for her to step through. The shimmering doorway is the metaphysical confirmation that your breakthrough timeline is available. But here is the secret. You cannot enter the doorway with the identity that kept you small. You must step forward as the version of yourself who already belongs to the timeline awaiting you. Fear will whisper, "Not yet." Doubt will murmur, "You're not ready." Old identities will cling to your ankles, begging you to stay where it's safe. But the doorway will not wait forever. It flickers with possibility. Not to taunt you, but to show you how close you are. Inside the doorway is the life aligned with your highest frequency. It is not a door you open. It is a door you become aligned enough to walk through. For the shimmering doorway is not separate from you. It appears when your energy declares, "I am ready." Step toward it. Feel its pull. Let it guide you. Your breakthrough is on the other side, and the threshold is glowing. Chapter 15. The Acceleration Principle. When you draw close to your breakthrough timeline, something remarkable begins to happen. Time itself changes its rhythm around you. Manifestations that once took months begin arriving in days. Clarity that once required years of searching crystallizes in a single breath. People, opportunities, insights, and transformations converge at a pace that leaves you breathless. Not overwhelmed, but awakened. This phenomenon is known as the acceleration principle. Acceleration does not occur because you are rushing, it occurs because you are aligning. When your vibration rises high enough, when your internal frequency finally matches the timeline you are stepping into, your reality begins to move with startling speed, because it no longer has to resist the drag of your old identity. Your resistance was the weight. Your past was the anchor. Your wounds were the brakes. Your doubts were the fog. Once released, momentum takes over. In the outskirts of a sprawling desert kingdom lived an astronomer named Niall. He spent his nights mapping the constellations, charting the movement of stars across the velvet sky. For decades, his progress felt slow, incremental. One discovery here, another insight there. But one night, as he sat atop a sandstone peak watching a rare alignment of stars, something shifted. He felt the universe open like a great invisible gate. Ideas began pouring into him with such speed and clarity that his mind could scarcely keep pace. He scribbled pages of celestial patterns, formulas, symbols, concepts that had eluded him for years suddenly arriving effortlessly. By dawn, he had insights that would influence generations of stargazers. Exhausted and exhilarated, he asked the night sky, Why now? Why all at once? A whisper rose within him. Because you finally rose to meet the timeline where these truths already existed. The acceleration principle is like that. When you reach the vibrational threshold of your breakthrough timeline, reality snaps into harmonic alignment. What was once distance becomes proximity. What was once future becomes present. What was once waiting becomes arrival. Acceleration occurs because the internal barriers are gone. The outdated identity is dissolved. The emotional frequency is elevated. The subconscious is cooperating. The universe senses coherent intention. The path is unobstructed. The future self is in the driver's seat. It is not chaos. It is coherence. In a remote valley of the north, seekers spoke of the river that ran through their land. This river was known as the Swiftwater Path. Those who walked beside it noticed a strange truth. The closer they moved to the river's source, the faster it flowed. The wise elder of the valley often said, "Life behaves the same. When you draw closer to your true origin, your source frequency, everything quickens. Your true origin is your highest timeline. Your source frequency is the vibration of your authentic self. Acceleration is what happens when you return to it. You may notice this acceleration in your own life. Synchronicities multiplying. Breakthroughs happening in clusters. Rapid shifts in your emotional landscape. Sudden clarity in your purpose. Unexpected support appearing. Intuition becoming instantaneous. Opportunities aligning perfectly. Inner guidance strengthening. External rearrangements occurring quickly. It may feel like life is speeding up, but the truth is simpler. You are catching up to the timeline that always belonged to you. Acceleration also reveals what no longer fits. Anything misaligned will fall away rapidly. People will exit suddenly. Old patterns will collapse abruptly. Dead timelines will crumble swiftly. This is not destruction. It is pruning. Making space for the timeline rising to greet you. A poet named Lahan once described this phenomenon in a story he shared with his students. He spoke of a traveler walking across a plain filled with tall grass. At first, the journey was slow. The grass tangled his feet with every step. But as he walked closer to the horizon of his destiny, the grass began bending away from him as if bowing. His path grew clearer, straighter, easier. Eventually, the path moved so swiftly beneath him that he felt carried, not walking. This, Lahan said, is acceleration. When the world recognizes who you truly are, it rearranges itself to speed your arrival. This is your current stage of becoming. Acceleration is not a sign to slow down. It is a sign to stay aligned, stay receptive, stay steady. For once acceleration begins, you cannot return to who you were. The timeline is pulling you forward with momentum impossible to resist. And the greatest surprise? You will feel ready for it, because your soul knows acceleration is not pressure. It is destiny catching up to you. Chapter 16. The Invisible Contract. When you enter the final stages of stepping into your breakthrough timeline, you begin encountering a profound truth that sits beneath the surface of every experience. Some of your greatest challenges, deepest wounds, and most painful relationships were not random obstacles. They were invisible contracts, agreements made in the subtle realms of consciousness before you ever arrived in this life. These contracts do not bind you, they shape you. They are not punishments, they are preparations. They are the soul-level agreements designed to help you become the version of yourself capable of stepping into your highest timeline. In a mountainous region shrouded in lavender mist lived a woman named Kalira. She was known for her wisdom and compassion, though her early life had been marked by profound grief. She had lost her mother young, endured betrayal from a trusted friend, and survived seasons of deep loneliness. For many years, she believed life was unkind, that fate had singled her out for hardship, that suffering was her unwanted companion. But one night, while meditating in a temple carved into the mountain's heart, she was visited by a dreamlike vision. Before her appeared figures of shimmering light, soul companions from realms beyond. One of them spoke gently. You chose these experiences not to break you, but to wake you. Each challenge was an agreement, an invisible contract your soul made with others to refine you, strengthen you, and prepare you for the path you are now ready to walk. Kalira felt tears rise, not from sorrow, but from recognition. The voice continued, "The betrayal that shattered your trust strengthened your intuition. The loss that hollowed you deepened your compassion. The loneliness that carved you open made space for divine wisdom. Nothing was accidental. Everything was intentional. This is the truth you now stand face to face with. The invisible contract is not about karma in the punitive sense. It is about spiritual choreography. You met certain people not by coincidence, but by cosmic agreement. You walked through certain hardships not by misfortune, but by soul-level design. Not because you deserved suffering, but because your breakthrough timeline required growth you could not achieve through comfort. Many invisible contracts take the shape of relationships that mirror unhealed wounds, obstacles that awaken dormant strengths, losses that redirect your path, rejections that realign your destiny, delays that refine your timing, betrayals that sharpen discernment, endings that intensify your becoming. These contracts are the hidden architecture that shaped your evolution. When you understand this, something extraordinary happens. Resentment dissolves, bitterness fades, acceptance rises, empowerment awakens. You begin to see that those who hurt you were often fulfilling a contract your soul made for the sake of your expansion, though they may never consciously understand the role they played. A merchant in an ancient bazaar once carried this wisdom in a simple saying: "The people who break you open often came to set you free, not free from them, but free from the limits you carried before you met them." The invisible contract is not meant to trap you in your past, it is meant to release you from it. Once the lesson is integrated, the contract dissolves, the soul-level agreement completes itself, and you are free to move into the timeline it prepared you for. You may feel some of your contracts completing now. Old patterns no longer attract you. Certain relationships feel resolved, even without closure. Memories that once hurt now feel neutral. Recurring emotional triggers lose their charge. Intuitive understanding arises without explanation. These are signs that your soul is releasing itself from agreements that no longer serve your transition into your breakthrough timeline. In Kalira's final vision, the luminous figure said, "You are not defined by what you endured. You are defined by who you became because of it. You are now entering the phase where your invisible contracts begin revealing their purpose, where your wounds reveal their wisdom, where your challenges reveal their gifts, where your past reveals its perfection. You did not walk a broken path, you walked a carved one, shaped precisely for the awakening you are now experiencing. Your breakthrough timeline is not just the result of what you desire, it is the culmination of every invisible contract that shaped you into the person ready to receive it. You are not entering your new life by chance, you are entering it by design. Chapter 17. The Law of Divine Momentum. There comes a moment in your awakening when your journey stops feeling uphill and begins to feel guided, supported, carried. A moment when the energy around you, the circumstances before you, and the intuition within you begin weaving together into a single unified current. This is divine momentum. It arrives not when you force your path, but when you align with it. Not when you chase your destiny, but when you surrender to it. Not when you push life forward, but when you allow life to rise beneath you. Divine momentum is the spiritual wind that fills your sails when you have finally turned your vessel toward the horizon where your soul always intended to go. In a coastal realm known as Lissorin, fishermen spoke of a phenomenon they called the blessing tide, a current that appeared only when the sea recognized a voyager's readiness. Those who tried to force their way into its waters never found it. But those who set out with open hearts and clear purpose would feel the tide lift their boats, carrying them swiftly toward distant lands. One fisherman, Arden, spent years battling the sea in search of this elusive current. He charted maps, studied winds, calculated tides. He exhausted himself rowing against waves, determined to reach new shores through sheer effort. But no matter how hard he tried, the sea resisted him. One evening, defeated, he drifted aimlessly beneath the stars. With the oars resting at his feet, he whispered into the night, "I am done fighting the way. Show me the way." As those words left his lips, a gentle surge lifted his boat. The water beneath him shimmered with a strange luminescence, and his vessel began gliding forward, smoothly, effortlessly, carried by the blessing tide he had chased for years. Arden wept, not from relief, but from recognition. The tide had always been there. He could not feel it until he stopped forcing the journey. This is divine momentum. It begins the moment you stop pushing from fear and start moving from alignment. The moment you stop demanding outcomes and start trusting direction. The moment you stop gripping the oars and allow life to reveal its current. Divine momentum appears when your energy is coherent, when your thoughts, emotions, and identity finally match the frequency of your breakthrough timeline. At this point, life begins rearranging itself with astonishing speed. Doors open without your knocking. Opportunities align without your chasing. People arrive without your seeking. Clarity appears without your searching. Resources gather without your asking. The universe is not rewarding you. It is responding to you, because divine momentum can only occur when your inner being is no longer working against your future. A mystic in the White Timber Monastery once said, "You cannot be carried until you stop resisting the arms that lift you." And those arms are your alignment, your trust, your willingness to be led. Divine momentum feels like being in the right place at the right time. Having ideas flow effortlessly, feeling guided by something beyond logic. Sensing support from seen and unseen forces. Experiencing rapid shifts that defy explanation. Feeling lighter, clearer, faster internally. Noticing life moving you instead of you moving life. It is not frantic acceleration, it is graceful velocity. Divine momentum is the universe saying, "You have aligned yourself with your true path. Now let me help you travel it." But to receive this support, you must release the small self, the part of you that believes it must carry everything alone, that believes success must come through struggle, that believes the future must be forced into existence. Divine momentum requires surrender, not weakness, alignment, not effort, receptivity, not resistance. In a faraway monastery built into the cliffside of the eastern ridge, monks practiced a ritual known as the falling feather. They would hold a feather in their hands, release it into the air, and observe how it drifted. The lesson was simple. When a feather stops fighting the wind, it travels far. You are the feather. Your alignment is the wind. Divine momentum is what carries you into your breakthrough timeline when you finally let yourself be moved by the current of your soul rather than the pressure of your fear. Arden's boat reached distant shores not because he rowed harder, but because he aligned his intention with his destiny. The blessing tide only appears for those who trust the divine rhythm of their path. And now, as you stand on the threshold of your breakthrough timeline, the same tide is gathering beneath you. Feel the shift, feel the pull, feel life rising to meet you. Divine momentum is awakening, and it is ready to carry you forward. Chapter 18. Relationships as Resonance. As you ascend into your breakthrough timeline, something profound begins to happen within your relationships. Not just romantic ones, but friendships, family bonds, partnerships, and every energetic connection you hold. You begin to see clearly that relationships are not coincidences. They are mirrors, they are tuning forks, they are vibrational matches to your inner state. Every person in your life is a reflection of a frequency within you. When you shift your resonance, your relationships shift with you, some deepening, some dissolving, some emerging seemingly out of nowhere. This is not cruelty or chaos, it is spiritual mathematics. In the ancient kingdom of Valoria, scholars studied a phenomenon they called resonant pairing, the natural law that like vibrations attract and unlike vibrations repel, just as sound waves synchronize or cancel each other. A young scholar named Uriel devoted his life to understanding this law. One evening, as he tuned two lyres in the echoing chamber of the palace, he discovered something extraordinary. When he plucked a single string on one lyre, the same string on the second lyre, untouched, began vibrating on its own. The strings resonated because they were tuned to the same frequency. In awe, Uriel wrote, "Connection does not require contact. It requires resonance." This truth applies not to instruments alone, but to human souls. When your frequency shifts, your relationships either rise to match you, fall away naturally, or are replaced by new connections aligned with your evolution. The friendships that deepen do so because their resonance carries the same truth. The relationships that dissolve do so because their frequencies are no longer compatible. The new people entering your life arrive because you have broadcast a new signal. This is why you may feel drawn to different kinds of people, repelled by old dynamics, uncomfortable in relationships that once felt familiar, unexpectedly connected to someone new, more sensitive to energetic misalignment, intuitively aware of who is meant to travel with you. These shifts are not personal failures, they are vibrational reorganizations. The soul does not abandon connections lightly, it evolves them. But when a relationship is built on an old version of you, old wounds, old beliefs, old fears, it cannot survive the emergence of your higher self. You cannot vibrate at a new frequency while clutching relationships anchored to your past. In the Emerald Valley of Salanth, there lived a healer named Mira. For years, she kept close to a circle of friends who bonded over shared pain. They comforted each other, but also unconsciously reinforced their limitations. As Mira began her inner work, healing, expanding, rising, she felt a growing distance between herself and her circle. She tried to stay, she tried to shrink, she tried to dim her light to maintain the bonds. But one night, her teacher said something that changed everything. You cannot rise by lowering your frequency to match someone else's. Those meant to rise with you will do so without being pulled. This truth broke Mira open. She realized she had been holding on to relationships that belonged to an older version of her spirit. With compassion, she stepped back, not in bitterness, but in alignment. Months later, new relationships formed, ones rooted not in pain but in purpose, not in fear but in resonance. These connections met her frequency, matched her growth, and supported her evolution. You may be experiencing the same now. Relationships are reorganizing around your rising vibration. This is not loss, it is recalibration. You are not being abandoned, you are being aligned. You are not outgrowing people, you are outgrowing frequencies. And the ones meant for your breakthrough timeline will feel like ease, expansion, inspiration, emotional safety, mutual growth, soul recognition, effortless connection, vibrational compatibility, intuitive harmony. The right relationships do not require shrinking. They do not dim your evolution. They do not fear your power. They rise with you. A final story is told in the Sapphire Temple. 2 candles were placed side by side, one flickering, one steady. When the steady flame grew brighter, the flickering one was not extinguished. It strengthened. The brighter flame did not steal light, it awakened it. This is how true relationships work in your breakthrough timeline. Some connections will fade because they cannot hold the frequency of your becoming. Others will ignite because your light awakens theirs. Relationships are resonance. Connection is vibration. Your breakthrough timeline is calling your soul family forward. Let the real ones rise. Let the old ones rest. Let your frequency choose the connections meant to journey with you. The universe is aligning your relationships with the person you are becoming. And those who walk with you from here will resonate with your destiny. Chapter 19. The Recalibration of Worth. There is a sacred moment in your ascent into the breakthrough timeline when you begin to sense that everything unfolding around you, every opportunity, every shift, every door opening, is dependent on one profound truth. Your reality cannot exceed your sense of worth. You do not receive what you wish for. You receive what you believe you deserve. Worthiness is the gravitational field of your manifestations. It is the magnetic core of your timeline. It is the silent command your energy broadcasts into the cosmos. When your worth increases, your reality recalibrates. When your worth diminishes, your reality contracts. This recalibration of worth is not an egoic inflation, it is the remembering of your inherent divinity. In a glimmering desert kingdom lived a young storyteller named Amari. Her tales held such beauty that crowds gathered from distant villages to hear her voice weave worlds into being. But despite the admiration of many, Amari felt unworthy of her own gift. Whenever offered payment, she refused. Whenever praised, she deflected. Whenever recognized, she hid. She carried wounds from childhood, messages whispered into her by those who feared her light. Messages that told her she was too much, too strange, too different. One evening, after a particularly moving performance, an elder approached her. "Child," he said gently, "why do you shrink from what is clearly yours?" Amari lowered her gaze. "I do not believe I am enough." The elder reached into his satchel and handed her a single gold coin. She tried to refuse, but he pressed it into her palm. "This coin holds no power," he said, "but your rejection of it does." Amari blinked, confused. The elder continued, "When the world offers you something aligned with your gift and you push it away, you are instructing the universe to withhold your own destiny." His words pierced her heart, not because they hurt, but because they revealed a truth she'd buried. That night, Amari sat beneath the stars and asked a question she had never dared to whisper. "What if I am worthy?" The stars above responded with a quiet shimmer, as though her question had finally reached the frequency required for the universe to answer. This is the recalibration of worth. It begins with a question. It expands into a revelation. It transforms into a frequency shift. Your breakthrough timeline requires a version of you who recognizes the truth. You are worthy of what you desire not because you earned it, but because you exist. Your worth is not something you build. It is something you uncover beneath layers of conditioning, rejection, and fear. You may notice the recalibration of worth through discomfort when receiving, sudden clarity about what you no longer tolerate, emotional releases triggered by unexpected kindness, resistance to opportunities expanding, new desires emerging that feel too big, an inner voice awakening, "I deserve better." These feelings are not ego. They are your soul reclaiming its rightful frequency. A sage in the crystal sanctuary once taught, "When the soul remembers its worth, reality bows in recognition." This is not metaphor, it is metaphysics. Worthiness is not emotion, it is vibration. It calibrates your timeline. It instructs the quantum field. It determines what you allow into your life. When your worth increases, the universe rearranges itself to match you. People treat you differently. Opportunities expand. Relationships shift. Money flows. Synchronicities intensify. Clarity strengthens. Boundaries sharpen. Desires deepen. Not because life becomes easier, but because your energy stops resisting what is meant for you. Amari eventually returned to the market square where she had once refused payment. This time, she placed a hand over her heart, accepting the coin offered by a listener with gratitude, not for the material value but for what it symbolized, her willingness to receive. From that moment forward, her life transformed. Invitations arrived from distant kingdoms. Patrons sought her stories. Her name reached halls she once believed were forbidden to her. When she embraced her worth, her timeline expanded. This is the power of recalibration. The universe cannot give you more than you believe you deserve, but the moment your worth rises, reality rises with it. This chapter in your journey is not about arrogance. It is about remembrance. Remembering you are not asking for too much. You are remembering you were meant for much more. Remembering you are not unworthy of love. You are upgrading your capacity to receive it. Remembering you do not need to prove your value. You only need to embody it. Worth is not a feeling. Worth is a frequency. And you, right now, are rising into the version of yourself who finally feels aligned with what your soul has always known is yours. Let it recalibrate you. Let it reshape your reality. Let your worth rise like a dawn across the horizon of your life. Your breakthrough timeline is waiting for the self who knows, "I am worthy of the life calling me." Chapter 20. Stabilizing your breakthrough timeline. Crossing into your breakthrough timeline is a monumental shift, but remaining there, holding the frequency, anchoring the identity, stabilizing the new reality, requires a different kind of mastery. Many people experience brief encounters with higher timelines, moments of clarity, intuition, abundance, inspiration, only to fall back into older patterns because their internal foundation was not strong enough to maintain the new vibration. A breakthrough is a doorway. Stabilization is the home you build once you walk through it. To stabilize your breakthrough timeline is to become the version of yourself who can consistently hold the vibration that created the breakthrough in the first place. In the ancient mountain haven of Rahalin, seekers trained to maintain their spiritual awakenings through a ritual known as the Seven Dawn Practice. They believed that entering a new level of consciousness was only the beginning. The real mastery lay in holding it. A seeker named Elion once ascended into a heightened state of awareness during meditation. Visions, revelations, profound clarity. But days later, he felt himself slipping back into fear, doubt, and the heaviness of ordinary consciousness. Upset, he sought his master. "Why can I not hold the light?" Elion asked. His master smiled. "Because you touched the light, but you did not become it." Stabilization requires integration. Your breakthrough timeline has a frequency, a texture, a rhythm, a vibration that must be continually embodied. Without embodiment, the old timeline reclaims you by default. Stabilization occurs through new habits, new emotional patterns, new energetic boundaries, new beliefs, new identity choices, new ways of responding to challenge. When you stabilize your breakthrough timeline, your internal world stops collapsing under old triggers. Instead, you find yourself responding differently, more consciously, more calmly, more aligned with your higher self. This is not perfection, it is consistency. In a forest monastery, disciples practiced walking across stones placed above a shallow stream. Each stone represented a different frequency of consciousness. The task was not merely to reach the far side, it was to stay balanced. The master often said, "Crossing the stream is easy, remaining above the water is mastery." Your breakthrough timeline is the far side of the stream. Stability is the skill of walking without slipping. You may feel the call to stabilize through resisting old temptations, noticing outdated patterns resurfacing, feeling emotionally sensitive, experiencing tests that mirror the past, being offered old timelines disguised as new opportunities, sensing the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. These are not setbacks, they are initiations. The universe is asking, can you hold the vibration of your breakthrough even when challenged? In the luminous city of Sharadon, there was a ceremony performed for those stepping into higher spiritual roles. The initiate would hold a glowing sphere of light between their hands. The sphere reacted to their energy, expanding when they aligned, shrinking when they wavered. Most initiates could hold the light for only a few breaths before it dimmed, but a woman named Selena held it steadily for minutes. When asked her secret, she replied, "I do not hold the light, I become the light." Stabilizing your breakthrough timeline means becoming the frequency that created it. If your new timeline is built on confidence, love, worthiness, trust, clarity, expansion, then you must embody these states not occasionally but continuously until they become the baseline of your being. Your old timeline was held in place by repetition. Your new timeline requires the same. Stabilization is also about protection. Protecting your peace, protecting your progress, protecting your energy, protecting your boundaries, protecting your new identity. The more you protect the vibration of your breakthrough, the stronger it becomes. The stronger it becomes, the more real it feels. The more real it feels, the more it crystallizes into physical reality. Stabilization transforms a breakthrough from a moment into a lifetime. Elion eventually learned to hold his new consciousness not through striving, but through becoming. He built habits that aligned with his new awareness. He meditated daily. He walked the mountains in silence. He spoke truth even when afraid. He practiced compassion even when challenged. And slowly, his awareness stopped fluctuating. He no longer reached for the light. He lived in it. You are entering this stage now. You have touched the breakthrough frequency. Now it is time to become it. To stabilize is to anchor. To anchor is to embody. To embody is to transform. Your breakthrough timeline is ready to hold you. But you must choose to hold it too. This is the phase where breakthroughs become foundations, where visions become reality, where destiny becomes daily life. And it all begins with the choice. I will not slip back into who I was. I will remain aligned with who I am becoming. You are capable of holding the vibration long enough for the world to reflect it consistently. Stabilize it, live it, become it. Your new timeline is ready for permanence. Chapter 21. The Hidden Relationship Between Destiny and Choice. There comes a moment on your spiritual path when you begin to sense a paradox stirring beneath the surface of your life. Are you choosing your destiny, or is destiny choosing you? The deeper you walk into your breakthrough timeline, the more you realize the truth is not one or the other. It is both. It is neither. It is a dance. Destiny is not a fixed endpoint. It is a resonance calling you forward. Choice is not merely action. It is alignment with the resonance that is calling. Together they weave the tapestry of your becoming. In the faraway province of Valoris stood a vast library known as the Archive of Unwritten Paths. Scholars traveled from distant lands to study its scrolls, though few understood the mystery contained within them. For the scrolls were blank, entire shelves of untouched parchment, unmarked and perfect. A young scholar named Merrin once asked the keeper of the archive, "If the scrolls are empty, how can they contain knowledge?" The keeper smiled, eyes gleaming with ancient certainty. "They do not store knowledge," he replied. "They store potential." Merrin frowned, confused. "Then where is destiny written?" The keeper handed him a blank scroll. "Here," he said, pointing to the empty page. "Destiny is not written before you arrive. Destiny is written as you arrive." He tapped Merrin's chest. "But the ink is your frequency. Your choices determine what the ink reveals." Merrin sat with this revelation, feeling its truth ripple through him like wind across still water. Destiny and choice were not opposites, they were collaborators. This is the hidden relationship between the two. Destiny provides the highest possibility. Choice determines how closely you walk toward it. Your frequency determines how quickly you arrive. Your highest timeline is not set in stone, it is set in resonance. The more aligned you become with your authentic self, the closer you move toward the destiny that already exists as a vibrational template in the quantum field. But alignment is not passive. It requires choice, the invisible internal choices we explored earlier. Choosing trust over fear, choosing expansion over contraction, choosing growth over comfort, choosing intuition over logic, choosing your future self over your past identity. These choices shift your resonance, and your resonance determines which version of destiny becomes available to you. In the floating monastery of Aramor, monks practiced a ritual known as the Dance of the Two Flames. Each monk held two candles, one representing destiny, the other representing choice. The candles were lit simultaneously. The monk would move them slowly, weaving them in circles, spirals, and arcs. The lesson was always the same. When one flame moves, the other responds. Neither leads, neither follows. They move as one. When a monk's movement grew rigid or fearful, the flames flickered erratically. When the monk moved with trust, fluidity, and openness, the flames danced without disturbance. Your life is the same. When you choose fear, destiny retreats. When you choose doubt, destiny dims. When you choose self-betrayal, destiny pauses. But when you choose truth, when you choose alignment, when you choose your becoming, destiny rushes forward to meet you. It accelerates, it brightens, it reveals its hidden pathways. Many believe destiny is a singular outcome. In truth, it is a spectrum, a vibrational range. Your destiny exists in layers, lower expressions, middle expressions, and higher expressions. You rise or fall within these expressions based on your frequency, which is shaped primarily by your inner choices. Imagine destiny as a mountain range. There are countless paths to the peak. Some are steep and painful, some are winding and slow, some are direct and rapid, some lead to false summits that must be revisited. But no matter which path you take, the peak never moves. It waits, it calls, it resonates, and your choices determine the route. A traveler in the echoing sands once said, "Destiny is not a destination. It is an echo. Your choices determine how clearly you hear it." Right now, as you stand on the threshold of your breakthrough timeline, you may feel this echo growing stronger, pulling you inward, upward, forward. You do not need to fear missing your destiny. You do not need to fear choosing wrong. Your soul is magnetized to the highest path available to you in every moment, and as long as you continue choosing from alignment, with courage, trust, and authenticity, your destiny will continue revealing itself in greater and greater clarity. Destiny is not a matter of chance, it is a matter of coherence. Choice creates coherence. Coherence reveals destiny. And destiny, once revealed, transforms choice from effort into instinct. This is the hidden relationship. This is the sacred dance. One flame moves, the other follows, until both burn as one. Chapter 22. The Unveiling of Your New Reality. There comes a moment, quiet, sacred, unmistakable, when everything you have been shifting, releasing, healing, surrendering, aligning, trusting, and becoming finally crystallizes into form. This moment is the unveiling of your new reality. It does not always arrive with fireworks. Often it arrives like dawn, soft, gradual, inevitable. A glow before the sun, a knowing before the proof. You may wake up one morning and feel something different in the air, lighter, clearer, aligned. Your inner world feels spacious, no longer cluttered by old anxieties. Your intuition speaks with a new authority. Your heart beats with a rhythm that feels ancient and brand new at the same time. You have crossed a threshold. Your breakthrough timeline is no longer approaching. You are living inside it. In the kingdom of Cerulune, astronomers spoke of a phenomenon called the second horizon. At dawn, just before the sun crests, a faint band of light appears above the horizon, so subtle that most never notice it. But those trained to see it understand its meaning. It signals that the day has already begun, even before the sun becomes visible. Your new reality works the same way. It begins internally before it materializes externally. You feel it before you see it. You live it in frequency before you live it in form. In a remote mountain village, a young herbalist named Ciela had spent years struggling to find her place. She felt out of sync with her surroundings, misunderstood by her peers, unsure of what path to follow. Then, one night under the soft glow of a crescent moon, she felt something shift within her. The tension she had carried for years dissolved. A clarity she had sought for decades arrived without effort. She felt herself step into an inner alignment so profound that it reshaped her entire sense of identity. The next morning, though nothing external seemed different, she moved through the village with new eyes. People greeted her warmly. The path to her garden felt illuminated. Opportunities that once avoided her now sought her out. The plants seemed to respond more vibrantly to her touch. Ciela realized her world had not changed. She had, and because she had, the world was unveiling itself in a new way. This is what happens when your breakthrough timeline stabilizes. Reality reveals its upgraded version to match the upgraded version of you. The unveiling often begins quietly. A new relationship that feels aligned from the start. A career opportunity that resonates with your true purpose. A creative idea that begins gaining momentum. A sense of peace that no longer collapses under pressure. Synchronicities clustering around you like supportive stars. Inner guidance becoming effortless and immediate. Opportunities unfolding with grace and speed. Relationships improving or dissolving with clarity. These are not random improvements. They are reflections of your new baseline frequency. Your new timeline is not built on hope. It is built on identity. The identity you now embody, the frequency you now hold, the alignment you now live. As your new reality unveils itself, the universe begins responding to you differently. People trust you more because you trust yourself. Life supports you more because you support your truth. Opportunities align because your energy is aligned. Abundance flows because you no longer resist receiving. Love deepens because your heart is open. Intuition sharpens because your mind is quiet. Your new reality reveals itself in layers, each one brighter, clearer, and more resonant than the last. In the Temple of the Seven Mirrors, initiates were taught a final lesson. When you become the light, the world unveils paths that darkness once concealed. This unveiling is not a reward for your suffering. It is the natural outcome of your remembering. You have shed the false identity. You have navigated the corridor of uncertainty. You have followed the whisper. You have softened your resistance. You have aligned your vibration. You have met your higher self. You have stabilized your frequency. You have released your contracts. You have risen in worth. You have entered resonance with destiny. And now, the new reality unveils itself because you have become the person who belongs to it. The world responds differently because you are different. This is the moment your inner transformation becomes outward expression. The moment your breakthrough stops being a possibility and becomes your lived experience. The moment destiny stops whispering and begins speaking clearly. The moment the universe stops preparing and begins delivering. Your new reality is not approaching, and it is here. You are standing inside it, breathing in it, creating from within it. This is the unveiling, the revelation, the moment the curtain lifts on the life aligned with your highest frequency. Welcome to your breakthrough timeline. You are no longer becoming. You have arrived.